This is Speaking of Pets podcast, where we offer you up-to-date, science-based, accurate information.
Oh, Gizmo! Good kitty. You're such a good kitty.
And they're looking up and howling in unison.
If it affects pets, we'll talk about it. The Speaking of Pets podcast is sponsored by Blue Buffalo Veterinary Diets. Love them like family, feed them like family. And go to chewy.com and enter promo code COMMAND15 to save 15% off on Vetramax Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo. That's code COMMAND15 at chewy.com for 15% off. Vetramax makes it better. Hey everyone, welcome to Speaking of Pets. I'm Dr. Alice Novotny-Jeroman, a board-certified veterinary allergist and dermatologist, and
I'm Janet Novotny-King, and I am not a board-certified allergist and dermatologist veterinarian. My sister is. I'm a pet owner, pet lover, and pet promoter, and we're here to share some really good information with you today, Al. What are we talking about today?
we are so lucky. We have Bill Bookout. Bill is the president, board chair, and founding member of the National Animal Supplement Council, NASC. What the NASC does, it evaluates supplements to be sure that they're safe for use in our dogs, cats, and horses. And Bill is the founder of this company. He's a leading expert on regulatory issues surrounding all these types of products for our pets. He is the policeman for these supplements, because if you know, the FDA does not review supplements.
Right.
So we need somebody to tell us this supplement is safe for our pets and this one isn't. So we're going to ask him all about that.
Cool.
He belongs to so many animal loving organizations, vested interest in canines, Best Friends Animal Sanctuary, Heroes and Horses. He's like us, a real animal lover. And like I said, he really cares about the quality and quantity of what's in these supplements, so that we're not harming our beloved pets. So welcome, Bill. We're so anxious to ask you all these questions about the safety of supplements out there for our pets. So Janet, remember the other day when you were out of this country and she was asking me, Bill, about this L-glutamate because she needed a probiotic or something. And I said, why are you buying that stuff? I said, first of all, you're in France right now, although the products are probably better there than they are here, which I don't know, but you would know that. But anyway, Janet actually said to me, well, really, what is a supplement and why aren't they controlled? So can you give us some enlightenment on that?
Yeah, like what is the definition of a supplement?
That's a good question. That's a very good question, and often misunderstood. And so let me try to elaborate and bring some clarity to that. So a supplement can fall into one of two categories on the animal side. We have supplements and we see dietary supplements out there all the time for people. And we assume that supplements would fall under the same umbrella or definition on the animal side as they do on the human side, and that's not true. The Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act is legislation that the United States Congress passed that amended the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act to specifically create a category for human dietary supplements as a subset of food. The side of FDA that regulates animal food and animal drugs is FDA Center for Veterinary Medicine, and they published an opinion in the Federal Register in 1996 that said, in the opinion of the agency, they did not believe that the U.S. Congress intended for the same legislation that applies to human supplements also be applied to animal supplements. So consequently, there's no category for dietary supplements for animals. So there's only two choices under the law. There are health supplements. Those products are for a non-nutritional health benefit. Let me give you some examples. Glucosamine, chondroitin, coenzyme Q10, things like that, cardiovascular health, joint health, lutein for eye health, or calming products, melatonin, things like that. There's no scientifically substantiated nutritional requirement daily for those types of ingredients, and the intended use is not a nutritional contributor. Or you have nutritional supplements, which are products that are intended to contribute vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, other nutrients as components of a complete and balanced diet. So question one is, first you have to have clarity on defining supplements for animals. Is it for a health benefit or is it for a nutritional benefit, right? Then another common misconception is supplements are unregulated. They're not unregulated. They're actually regulated more strictly or rigorously than human dietary supplements because we're potentially regulated at two levels. We're regulated at the federal level, in the United States at least, by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration Center for Veterinary Medicine, and potentially at the state level through the Department of Agriculture or some other agency that has regulatory oversight, maybe connected with the university, like the University in Indiana or Texas or Kentucky, Department of Agriculture in other states. So we could be subjected, and oftentimes are, regulation at two levels, the federal level and the state level, right? So we're actually more strictly or rigorously regulated than human dietary supplements, and that's not well understood. Now, so that's a long-winded babbling explanation to what I think are really important questions foundationally for this conversation and for your audience, is to specifically define what is a supplement and what's the oversight on these products.
As a consumer, what should our listeners be looking for when buying products for their pets?
You mean the quality?
So,
No, like when
Yeah.
I'm out, there's like a bajillion supplements when you go out there, right?
yeah,
So what
Yeah.
are some things that I should be looking for when I'm shopping?
yeah. Let me give you a couple thoughts on that. So quality is an important question, Alice, and I always talk about, because anybody you talk to that has a supplement or any product, they've always got the best product in the world, right? Everybody's got the best product, right? People call me all the time and they want to tell me about their product and how great it is. I think quality is extremely important. So the reason I say that is because if you don't start with quality raw materials combined by quality repeatable processes, which is what good manufacturing practice standards define, written procedures that show blending and manufacturing and process control of products, you're not going to have consistency at the end of the production cycle. And what that really means is, if the animal is going to respond positively to the product, as we hope that they will, you want the same exact product produced to the same quality specifications next week, next month, next year, so that we have consistency. So quality is always of paramount importance, right? And I think that's the most important question to ask. So a couple red flags on there's, you're right, Janet, there's thousands of products out there. How do you know who to pick? Everybody's got the best product. Couple red flags, I think. Companies that make claims that sound too good to be true probably are, right? So, if you see companies out there, that are representing their products that, have the capability or ability, they're curing everything from parvo to cancer, that's a red flag. They're not only breaking the law, and they're casting a disparaging shadow on the entire industry by making those types of claims, which are not allowed under the law. You should never overpromise and underdeliver. If there were any magic bullets for these types of conditions, we'd all be promoting those on this podcast, right? So companies that make claims that sound too good to be true probably are. So look for red flag claims. Anybody that mentions a disease, any company that mentions a disease, product label, website, even social media. The other thing is, if you look at two products and they look similar on the label and one of them costs half as much as the other, ask why that is, because quality costs money, right? Quality ingredients, as we talked about a few minutes ago, are the key really to having quality products at the end of the production cycle. And there are some company cheap ingredients, and cheap products are typically cheap for a reason, right? So if you want your family member, your furry family member, to respond positively to the product, as we all hope that they will, quality is important. And so if one product costs significantly less than the other and they look pretty much the same on the label, that's a red flag.
Okay, I have a question, Bill. I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So with these GMPs, good manufacturing practices,
Yep.
are these companies that have good GMPs vetting their raw material? For example, and I'm going to tie in this question.
Yep.
Is it true that 80 to 90% of the vitamins and minerals are made in China?
Yeah.
That I know that go into pet food. So do these companies vet that, those raw materials or not?
The answer is they should. It's a requirement under the law, and it's a
Okay.
requirement under CGMP's current good manufacturing practice standards to have vendor qualification and upstream verification that what's represented on the certificate of analysis is actually verified. Okay, so that's key. People call me and they say, and I have this conversation with people, they say, well, we're buying good quality materials. I say, how do you know? They say, well, we get a certificate of analysis from the raw material supplier. And I say, how do you know they didn't make it up? What do you do
Wow,
to
what
end
a
it?
good response. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you know they didn't make it up, right? So we always operate on the premise of trust but verify. So you've got to qualify your supplier by doing vendor qualifications, vendor audits. If they're international suppliers from China or anywhere else offshore, they should go through the foreign supplier verification process from FDA. Incidentally, that's the most commonly written up observation on FDA warning letters: failed to meet foreign supplier verification. So that's a really important component. But even no matter where the supplier resides, whether it's domestically or internationally, trust but verify. So don't take anybody's word for anything, right? Send out a sample from the raw material to a reputable laboratory and have the certificate of analysis verified. So you don't. We don't promote. You can test yourself right out of business, right? So
Right.
you don't have to do 100% testing on every single thing, but part of the qualification process, it has to be more than a random event. So 3 times you should test. Then you can implement things like skip lot testing programs. But because you have to have faith, trust, and confidence in your supply chain at all levels, again, to speak to the quality issue, right? Just one other comment here, because you're right, Jen. A lot of ingredients come from China for supplements, human or animal, or pet food. And so
Yes.
another common misconception, and I've been to China a number of times, people think everything from China is bad and everything from the US is good. Neither one of those two things are true, right? Again, there's no substitute for having faith, trust, and confidence in your supplier, independent of what geographic area that they reside in the world.
As a veterinary dermatologist, I can tell you that the chronically affected allergic pet condition, also known as atopic dermatitis, is rarely ever cured, but it can be effectively managed. Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo from Vetramax is a top veterinarian prescribed treatment for skin problems resulting from chronic itch, pyoderma, and allergic dermatitis.
I like to use what my veterinarian tells me to use, which is Command Shampoo by Vetramax. It's super gentle on the skin and tough on that nasty unwanted bacteria. Libby smells great, she looks great, and she loves it.
Vetramax makes practicing veterinary medicine better by giving doctors high-performing, high-value, evidence-based products. Now, with Command Shampoo, you can bring that same quality into your regular home routine. Go to Chewy.com and enter promo code COMMAND15 to save 15% off on Vetramax Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo. That's code COMMAND15 at Chewy.com for 15% off. Vetramax makes it better. Hey everyone, don't forget to pick up Country Critter Journal if you live in Northeast Ohio. It's a must-read for all pet lovers. Their goal is similar to ours here at the podcast, to educate the community on taking care of pets. They're advocates for adopting from shelters, not puppy mills, and they connect our local communities with goods, services, kennels, and those seeking to adopt a pet. They're a hometown paper with a personal touch. A must-read for all pet lovers, Country Critter Journal. Now, are the standards that NASC has for supplements, do they also apply to, say, herbal supplements?
Yes. Short answer is
Okay.
yes.
Herbal is a health supplement, right?
Typically, herbal would be a health supplement. I'll give you an example. If we have turmeric, turmeric is herbal compound, right? Turmeric is approved and can be used in a nutritional supplement as a spice flavoring or seasoning. That's how it's defined in the AFCO official publication. However, if that ingredient is used as an anti-inflammatory for aging dogs that may have joint discomfort, then that's an herbal ingredient that would be then used in a health supplement because the intended benefit would not be a nutritional benefit.
My question about that is, so then if it's an intended health supplement, is it held to a higher standard of testing, or the testing would be the same
That's a good
of
question.
the
Yeah.
compound,
Yeah.
no matter which one it's promoted as?
That's a very, very good question. Really, you need to verify the certificate of analysis and the concentration, purity, potency of that ingredient or any other, whether you're using it in a nutritional supplement or a health supplement. So our NASC CGMPs and vendor verification and the standards apply universally to both groups of products. Pet food is a little bit different. The Food Safety Modernization Act, which was, I think, finalized in 2012, roughly, is 21 CFR. That's Part 21, Code and the Federal Regulations, Part 507. That's the Food Safety Modernization Act for pet food. So NASC for supplements, either nutritional supplements or health supplements, we set that bar higher than the standards for pet food, and we apply to both categories of supplements.
You know, I have to say, the other day I'm watching TV, and I'm not going to name the name of the pet food. I hadn't heard of the name of the pet food before, but the conclusion, the last statement was, this food can make your dog live 3 years longer.
Yeah.
How can you make
Well,
that
that's
claim?
a
I
red
thought
flag.
with
Bill said that's a red
supplements
flag.
Well, yes, but I'm shocked that their marketers would even
Well, they're
wanna
saying it
say
because it's
that.
helping them sell product.
Because- But isn't it a health claim that you can't prove?
That's the question. Is can they, for that claim or any other claim? The question is, claims have to be substantiated as being truthful, not false and misleading to the consumer in any particular, right? So if a company says our pet food can help your dog or cat live 3 years longer life, that would be a pretty high bar to substantiate that claim in my view. And a company could be subjected to, really, there's three axes of risk or potential action. There's regulatory action from FDA or a state regulator if a company could not back up a claim or the claim was violative of the law. There's the Federal Trade Commission. Federal Trade Commission is concerned about advertising that's untrue or false and misleading to the consumer. Now, FTC only takes action usually on larger companies because they want to make a statement and then everybody else sees the action. It could be a very large company. I won't name any names, but everybody else sees that action and they say, oh, we better change our behavior. So they get behavioral change by taking action against major companies typically. However, there's plaintiff attorney risk, where there are attorneys out there that if they see a claim like that they don't think a company can substantiate to the satisfaction of the legal system or legal challenge, and they'll send a demand letter and say, we don't believe you can substantiate this claim, so we're gonna file a plaintiff action, class action lawsuit, and they want to get paid off. So there are potential severe and significant financial consequences for making claims that companies can't substantiate. And to me, that would certainly be a red flag claim, right? A couple others, that are companies say all natural. If you say all natural, it's got to be 100%. If you say human grade, it's got to be 100% human grade, and you've got to meet the standards for human grade food or supplement production. And those are different standards that I mentioned before. 21 CFR Part 111, human dietary supplements, or Part 117, which is the Food Safety Modernization Act for human food. So there's a lot of things out there. You're right. companies want to sell products, right? And it's driven to a great degree in by marketing. But again, trust but verify, right? You can apply that in a lot of different aspects of both product quality as well as claims and substantiation.
The other thing I know with, not to get off into pet food, but when I was in practice, people would say, well, I don't want to buy this food because it's not made in the USA.
Yeah.
I do want to buy this food because it's made in the USA, but all those vitamins and minerals came
Yeah.
from non-USA.
Yeah.
And so how can they put made in USA on the bag if the vitamins and
'Cause it was
minerals say came from
manufactured here.
China?
But you should say manufactured in the United States with globally sourced ingredients,
Oh, got it.
right?
See, Janet,
It's
see
very
how
complicated,
this is?
and as a consumer, it's very complicated. Bill, so say I have a dog food company. How do I go about getting certified?
So we only do
Oh, okay.
supplements. So we don't cover complete
Okay.
balanced diets. But the process to join NASC is a multi-step process. First, we want to be sure we can actually help the company with their product. So we only do non-human food chain animals, meaning dogs, cats, and horses. We don't do complete and balanced diets. So anything in bags or cans, that's not our scope. There are other organizations out there that address that. But we want to be sure that the products fit under the scope of what we address. Every single company that joins NASC has to go through an interview process and qualify for membership. So we vet the company. So you can't just pay your money, join NASC, say you're a member, use the seal. And they sign a written agreement by a principal of the company saying that they're going to follow our guidelines, and we go over those with companies that want to join. So want to be sure we can help them. They got to agree to follow our standards. And then the seal can only be used by companies that have passed a comprehensive audit process similar to an NASC audit. So I heard the other day that somebody told me, well, we heard NASC was a pay-for-play organization and you could buy the seal and pay your money and use it. That's absolutely not true. So, and our standards are listed on the website, but, I mean, that probably was started by a company that we didn't let in NASC or that,
Sure.
we turned down. Now, having said all that, it doesn't mean that the organization is perfect, right? But I can tell you for sure, if you see a member of NASC, I can tell you their heart's in the right place because they cleared those hurdles to join in the first place. And number two, if you see a company that uses the NASC seal on their products, we have verified that they're following written standards. They have a written quality control manual. They've done vendor qualification. Their claims are within those that are allowable. They have post-market surveillance and risk management programs, which we provide to them and they're required to use. So, our standards are pretty rigorous and intentionally so. Otherwise, people ask me, why do you think NASC's been successful? So we've been around 24 years. We represent 300 brands. I'd say one word, credibility, because we walk our talk. And, if our credibility is damaged, then the regulatory community, which we work with routinely, would lose faith and trust in us. And so that's extremely important to the association.
Now, Bill,
to
how
the
did you get into this? Like, how did you start this company?
So that's an interesting journey, and I'll try to give you a fairly concise answer. So I come from a pharma background. I was an executive in the medical device and drug industry. I was chief operating officer for a $500 million company. But I was raised in Wyoming. I had dogs my whole life, 2 Labrador retrievers, Lancelot and Cinder, and both of them had issues. Cinder had hip dysplasia. I had 2 total hips done on her. Lance had cancer when he was 7 years old. It came back when he was 11 and a half. But I got out of human medicine, long story short, and I took a slot as CEO for the 3rd largest specialty companion animal referral hospital in the United States in Southern California. I did that for 3 years. But in the course of that experience, cancer comes back on my 11-and-a-half-year-old Labrador retriever, Lancelot, and I work with all these high-powered board-certified oncologists, and he's given a very poor prognosis, 3 months with chemotherapy, right? And I wasn't going to do that on an 11-and-a-half-year-old dog. So I find a veterinarian, formulated a supplement. I completely changed his diet, and he lived 2.5 years, good quality of life, which wasn't long enough, but I was very thankful for that. And so I decided in 1999 to start my own company selling supplements for animals. And you would think with my background, I would be able to figure out what the regulatory landscape was and how to go forward. Wrong. I made every mistake you can possibly make, it seems like. Didn't realize that the same regulatory landscape and framework didn't apply for animal products. I assumed, incorrectly so, that animal supplements can't possibly be regulated more strictly or rigorously than human supplements. And so I got in the business, and then after I was in it, I find out I made a bunch of mistakes. And so I started NASC, to engage the FDA and the state regulators to try to provide a solution to a problem that they couldn't figure out how to handle to meet a growing consumer pet owner market demand and need. And so ultimately, I believe very strongly in what we do. I'm very passionate about the industry, as you know from our previous committees and initiatives and places that we've served and tried to make a difference. And that's why I do this, because I believe in my heart I want to make a difference, right? And
and
I think
and
we
that's
do
where
that.
Bill and I met in Chicago at an American Veterinary Medical Association, AVMA committee meeting. Me there being passionate about, as a former pharmacist, compounding and how much crap that would come to me as compounded medicinals, where the oil was on top and the product was on the bottom and it was all leaking out. And we sat next to each other, and I was passionate about changing how compounding is regulated for animals, and he was with supplements. And to be honest, I don't know that we made much of a difference, because it was all kind of all about lawyers. I hate to say it, but that's what I came away with, Bill, sadly.
Well, I think we did make a difference, because
I
look at
hope
the
so.
relationship that we have, and we've maintained that relationship and friendship, and also passionate business interests. But I think at the end of the day, the reason we all do this is because we want the same things for our dogs and cats as we want for ourselves. We want them to
Yes.
live long, happy, healthy lives to the maximum degree possible, right?
Yes.
And supplements are an important component of that, holistically with a W, right? It's a three-dimensional sphere, this thing we call health and wellness: diet, exercise, conventional medicine, allopathic medicine, routine checkups, supplements, environment, loving homes. All those things are components. And so we have made a difference, Allison. I'm very
I hope
happy.
so, because
Yeah.
they can't, it's like whack-a-mole. I keep coming back up. I don't care how much they beat me down. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
But
when I look back at my career, the greatest compliment anyone could ever give me is, we made a difference.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And I was telling Janet this morning, one of my greatest thankfulnesses, if you will, is I would get so many pets on cortisone steroid long term, and their muscle atrophy, they couldn't even walk, and for their skin condition, and I'd
Yeah.
get them off of that. And when the owner would call me and say, this is the first time he's played with his toy in months, that made my day.
Yeah.
Because we got him off the steroid that was really ravaging his body,
Yeah.
and got him onto something else that hopefully was helping him. But the other thing I wanted to tell you about, a lot of people think, as a former pharmacist, and I then ended up going to vet school, a lot of people in my pharmacy days always felt that natural was safe.
Yeah.
And it's not always true.
Yeah.
I used to say natural is hemlock,
Yeah.
and that'll kill you.
Yeah.
And even with supplements, you have to be careful that they don't interact with other supplements or prescription drugs that the dog or cat or us that we're on.
Another really good point to the point you asked earlier, Janet. How thousands of products out there. How can the pet owner know? Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call the company. Make sure they have expertise. Who formulated the product? Do they understand an animal anatomy, physiology, metabolism? Do they have clinicians in the company? How long have they been around? What's their background? You got to be careful, because this is a low barriers to entry industry, which means it's pretty easy to come up with a product, have somebody make it for you, and you may not know where that formula came from, or again, you want that product, you want your furry family member to respond positively to the product, and so know where it came from, who's behind it. Those are other good questions. I think people have to, don't just assume. People assume that hey, if there's a product on the market, whether it's on the shelf or on some e-com site, it must be okay. Not necessarily true, right? And you're right. Natural doesn't mean there's no possibility of an adverse event,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Hey, did you know that Blue Buffalo makes prescription diets that are formulated by animal nutritionists and veterinarians? And they're used for dietary needs such as kidney support, gastrointestinal support, weight management, and our favorite, allergy and skin problems. They make a food allergic diet that's an alligator based called NP, or a hydrolyzed salmon based for dogs and cats called HF. So please ask your veterinarian about Blue Buffalo prescription diets. I get so many questions from pet parents about what is safe and effective to use when cleaning their pet's ears. Dermazoo's Glycozoo Otic is great to use as a maintenance cleaner to keep the ears smooth and healthy. Glycozoo Otic solution has boric acid, which is antibacterial and anti-yeast, glycolic acid, which keeps the skin smooth and supple, and ceramides for routine ear cleaning with a solution that's safe, effective, and repairs skin cells. Ask your veterinarian about Dermazoo's Glycozoo Otic. Let's keep those ears healthy and infection-free. Jen, let me tell my story real quick. It's not about a supplement, but my vet friend had a golfing buddy, and his wife was getting sicker by the day, and she actually died. And the FBI was investigating her husband because they thought he killed her. Here, she had been going to our local health store, I'm not going to name the name of it, Janet, in Ohio, and buying seaweed and taking excess seaweed, and it was contaminated with arsenic.
Oh my God.
And there's a natural thing, seaweed, and she died of arsenic poisoning. And thankfully, he had all the receipts from that health food store for the seaweed, or they would have thrown him in jail. Seriously,
Wow.
he was under heavy investigation. Yeah.
Yeah. Mercury is another
Mercury.
thing that comes to mind on seaweed.
Oh.
Right? Yeah. So heavy metals, you can have heavy metal poisoning. That's another, trust but verify. So testing for heavy metals and micros on certificates of analysis for raw materials, that's important. Because you can't have a cumulative effect, right? You got 8 or 10 ingredients in a product. You can have a little bit from a lot of, a number of different ingredients that can add up to maybe too much, right? And especially over time.
I was reading about cadmium in chocolate. And of course, pets aren't supposed to have chocolate. But
Right.
Janet, you and I,
We like
of course,
chocolate.
eat our share of chocolate. But yeah.
Who doesn't?
Well, that's actually become an issue with marijuana in states where it's legalized, because you get a whole candy bar, chocolate bar that has marijuana in it,
Yeah.
and who can eat one little square? And you don't know what the dosage is.
Yeah.
I live in Connecticut where it's legal, and it is actually a huge. I couldn't eat one little square, right? And you don't know how much of a hit you're going to
Yeah.
get. So it's become a big issue, especially with
Yeah.
kids. So
Hemp and CBD, that's got to be hot on your supplement radar, no?
It is, absolutely. And we've been on the tip of the spear for hemp and CBD really since the first Farm Bill was passed, 2014, 2015. But products really started to hit the market when the second round of the Farm Bill, or Agricultural Improvement Act, came down in 2018. So common misconception about, cannabis derivatives, including CBD. People think that the Farm Bill made products legal. This is true for human or animal. It did not. It legalized the growing of the agricultural commodity, and it established a definition and a differentiation between marijuana and hemp, right? Cannabis sativa L, THC greater than 0.3%, marijuana less than 0.3% is hemp. CBD is a constituent of normally occurring constituent, as well as a number of other CBD, A, G, others, of cannabis sativa L, independent of marijuana. But Farm Bill didn't legalize products. It legalized growing of the agricultural commodity. When you turn a substance into a product, then it becomes FDA. So we've worked with FDA. I've given testimony in 2019 at FDA's public hearings, and we've worked with FDA Center for Veterinary Medicine, again, to establish what we believe is a responsible path forward for CBD products, including a recently completed last year safety study, which was published and peer reviewed in Frontiers in Veterinary Science, March, I think it was 2023, it may have been 2024, but that demonstrated long-term safe use of CBDA, CBDG, CBD in dogs on a 108-day study, and we submitted that. We did it at the request of FDA on behalf of the industry. So that was a $500,000 safety study that we funded on behalf of the industry. So we've been on the tip of that spear also. And through our adverse event reporting system, which is post-market surveillance, we have records of over 1 billion administrations of products containing cannabis or cannabis derivatives, including CBD, in our database, which is the most advanced database in the world, covering every ingredient in supplements, including CBD and cannabis and hemp derivatives, cannabis derivatives. So yeah, we've tried to stay ahead of the curve in a lot of different respects. On behalf of the industry, really our ultimate stakeholder are the animals, right? Everything we do is for the benefit of the animals themselves, right? So yeah, we've tried to stay ahead of the hemp and CBD curve as well.
But we have a question that we ask every one of our guests, and that is, what is your pet peeve? And it can be about pets, it can be about humans. What gets under your skin?
Well, what gets under my skin is, I think the industry, from a business standpoint, I think the industry can be classified or categorized as 3 broad groups of participants. I think there are NASC members that are trying to do the right things right, contribute to a cause greater than their own individual company's self-interest, and pave a responsible path forward for the benefit of the industry and the animals. There are companies that are not NASC members that are quality companies. I think they should be NASC members, but if they're not, that's a business decision. But as long as they act responsibly and have quality products, okay. But there's not very many of them because we represent about 300 brands now. But there are irresponsible participants in the industry that I call opportunistic providers that want to make a fast buck, that don't have, they don't care for the industry or the animals, and that's my pet peeve. I don't think they should be in the industry. I think people should not buy from those companies. So again, some of the things we've talked about here in terms of red flags, things to watch for or look out for or recognize positively and negatively, support the company. So pet peeve of mine, irresponsible, opportunistic participants in the industry, because industries get painted with a broad brush and they can give us all a bad name, sometimes unjustly so, right? So that's a big thing with me.
Interesting. Thank you.
I want to hear
Yeah,
about
who do
your
you
current
have?
pet.
Who lives in those cat condos?
Oh,
Who lives in that? Yeah.
that's a good question. So, we had dogs our whole lives. I had, Lance and Cinder. When I got married, my wife had an Akita. I'm not sure if I got the Akita, my wife came with the Akita, or I got my wife and the Akita came along. But either way, we've always been dog people. We did Akita rescue for a while. We had 4 Akitas, but we were in the process. They all lived to good, long lives, 14, 15 years old. But we were in the final stages of, our dogs' lives. And, we live in Southern California, and there's a feral cat that's running around our property, and, this orange cat. And I can't stand to see a hungry animal. So we talked about it, when our dogs left us, that we weren't going to get any other animals because it just tears your heart out, right?
Yeah.
So there's this feral orange cat that's, running around, and I go buy a cheap bag of cat food, and the first thing you know, he's in the house sleeping on the bed.
That was his plan.
And so his name is Marmalade, and he's about a year old when we got him, and he's just the most wonderful cat. But then we moved to Arizona. Cat, of course, comes with us, and then I decided we only had one cat. Well, the cat needs a companion, so we got another little rescue calico cat named Yanaha. which she was rescued from the Navajo Indian Reservation. We got her from the Phoenix Humane Society. Yanaha, her name, means brave in Navajo. So we have two cats. I got cat trees on each side of my desk, and they come in and hang out. And they're, we love those cats to death. So I'm a cat person. I'm a cat guy. As always a dog guy, I'm a cat guy now.
The cat guy. Boy, those are lucky cats, because look at the life they would have had.
Are they just house cats, or do they go out?
Especially the calico.
They're house cats.
No, they're house cats. They stay in. So we live in Arizona, so there's coyotes and bobcats and stuff around. So so they're indoor cats. So, but we do go back and forth to Alaska. We go to Alaska in the summertime, and
do you?
they come with us. So
Traveling cats.
They're traveling cats. Everywhere we go, they've been on the Alcana Highway a couple times. So
Janet's two cats bring home a lot of different things every day.
Yeah, we call them in again, out again, because they're in and out all day long. And the reason we got them is because we have a huge chipmunk population. And chipmunks carry ticks. And I'm really anti-tick because I had Lyme. So that's why we got them. And let me tell you, they bring them home in all different sizes and shapes. So, in the house, too.
Yeah. Well, I think that's how our cats became indoor cats exclusively, is because Marmalade, when we first got him, he was a feral cat, right? So he started out as an indoor-outdoor cat. We'd let him out in the morning, and 5 minutes he was back in with a bird. I mean, that cat was a hunting machine. And so anyway, my wife said he needs to be an indoor cat because she didn't like him killing the birds.
Yeah, I know.
The time,
I feel the same way.
Well, Bill, this is really, really fascinating, and we will put your website up.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, pet owners out there, I mean, I'm happy to speak to anyone. I mean, they can send an email or give me a call.
Thank you.
I'm
That's wonderful.
to speak to anyone if they have questions. And I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to, talk to you today. And, it's really an honor and a privilege. I genuinely mean that.
Oh, well, Bill, when Janet and I were talking about doing a show on supplements, hands down, I'm calling Bill Bookout.
We appreciate the work you do. Thank you so much. It's truly a work of passion.
I call you the supplement police. That's what I call you, Bill.
We do our best, and again, we do it because I believe in my heart that through our members' products we make a difference in the lives of millions of animals every single day, and that's so gratifying, to me.
And I love that a dog inspired you for this mission. I love. Well,
and you make a difference to the pet owners as well. That's huge.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. We appreciate you and the good work that you do.
So this is Dr. Alice Novotny Jeroman and
Janet Novotny King, the Novotny sisters from Cleveland, Ohio, saying thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to follow us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you learned some valuable information about making decisions about your pet's health.
And don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe on podcasts, because we love to have those likes. Thanks so much for listening.
That's actually really good. You could both go bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
How about woof woof?
This episode of Speaking of Pets podcast was sponsored by Blue Buffalo Veterinary Diets. Love them like family, feed them like family. And go to Chewy.com and enter promo code COMMAND15 to save 15% off on Vetramax Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo. That's code COMMAND15 at Chewy.com for 15% off. Vetramax makes it better. Follow us on social at Speaking of Pets and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The Speaking of Pets podcast is an SLA video production.